Chapter 2. Dylan. Sweet baby Jesus. This guy was tall. I looked up at James and tried to hide my awe at his immense build. At a touch under 6'0" I was hardly short. But standing next to this man, I felt I'd shrunk a few inches in his presence. James must have had half a foot on me, his broad shoulders emphasizing his physique. That baggy hoodie he wore up over his head couldn't hide the fact that this man must have been a running back in a past life. I began to wonder if that was true. Maybe he was a former college football star turned mechanic. Or maybe he simply had a really great workout regime and power-lifted cars in his downtime. With his arms crossed, I noticed how his biceps still bulged through his thin cotton hoodie, but they didn't even compare to his forearms. With his sleeves rolled up, I could clearly see he'd developed them through sheer hard work. Those weren't the forearms of a bodybuilder. They were the incredibly buff forearms of a man who physically worked hard for a living. And the large, intricately defined lion face tattoos visible on each arm only added to the hardened appearance of him. But when I looked into his eyes, they were friendly. Despite his almost disinterested monotone voice, James's eyes held a warmth that surprised me. I startled when James said my name, interrupting my train of thought. Come again? I asked, a little too meekly for my liking, but I had just been caught gaping at a guy who looked like he could snap me in half for fun. I said, "How soon you need the car by?" He repeated, as he pinned me with those impossible-to-read blue eyes. I nodded and gave him a small shrug to distract from my blatant staring. I then switched my gaze back onto my battered mode of transport. Rubbing the rough stubble on my chin, I thought back to earlier, when I'd had to push the car the last few blocks to the auto shop. My car has been with me for nearly 3 years. She was already long in the tooth when I got her, but I didn't care. All that mattered was that I had a car, and I no longer needed to use the unreliable transport system. But now, I was starting to realize that this auto shop could very well be my vehicle's final resting place. As soon as you can, but ideally within the next week. I wandered over to the driver's side of my vehicle. "Can't go too long without my chick magnet," I said mournfully as I patted the bonnet of the car. To my surprise, James laughed, a genuine rumble of sound, one that sent a small and unexpected thrill through me. What the hell was that? I chastised myself, not understanding the tingle of excitement that I felt at the sound of his voice. "Look," James began, as he made his way over to me. He gave me a mock-serious look as he placed a large palm on my shoulder. "I'm not gonna lie. If the ladies are flocking to you, it is not because of this car." I felt the beginnings of a small blush creep up the side of my face. I didn't get compliments much from men or from women, and I had no idea what to say in reply. Thankfully, James continued talking before I put my foot in my mouth. "Here's what I'll do." James dropped his warm hand from my shoulder, moving around to pop the hood of the car. "I'll take a look at it for free. We usually charge $100 for a full assessment, but don't worry about that. If there's anything wrong, which there will be," James stated with a meaningful look, before returning his attention to the engine, "I'll let you know how much you can expect to pay to fix it." Warmed by his generosity, I wanted to pay James back in some way. "That would be great, thanks. Hey, I work at a bar part-time a few blocks down from here," I began rambling, bringing his attention back to me. "I work there a few hours every evening. Come on over and the first 2 rounds of drinks are on me." James, once again, fixed me with that inscrutable stare, and I watched as he raised his hand to rub his neck. The movement drew my attention to what appeared to be scars on the side of his neck, hidden underneath his hoodie. He must have noticed me noticing because he quickly dropped his hand with a small shake of his head. "I'm not really into the whole nightclub scene." I shook my head quickly. "It's not a nightclub, it's just a small bar, real friendly, everyone's chill." I paused, remembering 1 or 2 regular patrons that I always found a handful when they had one too many drinks. "Well, mostly everyone's chill," I said, rushing into the next sentence. "But hey, to sweeten the deal, the first 3 rounds are on me. What do you say?"